All right, so you are on the hunt looking for a good asset to buy, right? That's where every good CEO, good COO wants to be. We want to be in the room where it happens. And we want to be the person on that side of the table where you're making an acquisition. Why? Because there's a lot of meaning that we attach to that. Like, you're the acquirer. You are, you've been entrusted with a lot of capital. People trust you to make decisions. People trust you as a leader to build out these high-performing teams. We're going places and we're doing things, right? I get it. Petronas Energy has been on the acquisition side. It's fun. We love it. But there's a risk. And here's the risk. What if you buy a lemon? What if you close on a deal only to realize that the asset you bought can't do what they say it was going to do? That's a conversation nobody wants to have. Especially after you've built a high-performing team, you've hired them, all your buddies that you worked with at other companies, and you've convinced them it's a great idea to leave their pensions at their big companies and to come follow you on this harebrained idea to start up a smaller operating company. And so nobody, after you've done that, wants to go back to their people and say, you know what, we bought a lemon, and I don't know what that means for your job, but it's definitely going to look different than you thought it was going to look. It's like, at very best it's going to look different. At very worst, we could be bankrupt. And nothing tells this better than a story, like real legit life stories. So there was a lot of private equity deals that happened in like the 2015 2016 era, and again those deals wanted to monetize on like a 5, somewhere between like 4 to 5, maybe 7 year life cycle. 7's kind of high. Anyway, what that lent to was that people were hoping to monetize like in 2020. And, well, of course, 2020 was different than everyone expected, and it put a lot of strain on people. But something happened. In 2018, there was a particular deal that closed. It was valued at $2 billion. Everyone was fat, dumb, and happy after that deal. Like, look what we did. We put together this high-performing team, hired the best talent, and we set our targets. We were hunting and sniffing. We found something, and boom, we just infused it with capital. You know the feeling, right? After months and months of planning, careful preparation, conversations with the investing institutions and private equity firms and everything. It's like you got the deal across the finish line, and to put a cherry on top, it turned into a public company, right? So they IPO'd, and it's like, woohoo! We ring the bell. You go to New York, and it's like a big deal. Everyone takes your picture, and it's like, this huge rush, right? You feel like the man, or you feel like the woman, right? Whichever you are, and it's like, it's a big rush. It's a big deal. But they didn't do due diligence on the process safety management side. And frankly, they didn't do due diligence on the engineering and technical side. They took it at face value, whatever was just given to them. And so shortly after, it was pretty short after they closed on the deal, they realized that the facility was advertised to have a certain throughput, certain capacity, and it was massively undersized. Like, it did a fraction of what it said it could do. And that was just on a throughput capacity on a good day. In addition to that, on the process safety side, there were millions and millions of dollars of compliance issues that had to be rectified because they didn't do due diligence. All this would have been found, right, when you do normal due diligence. And at that point you say, look, if you want us to close on this deal, then you're going to have to, provide some kind of way to rectify this, something that makes sense for us, right? Because the people who sold it were like, sweet, like they didn't ask, and so we're not obligated to fix it. And anyway, what the result of this, the result of like material deficiencies on the engineering side, material deficiencies on the process safety side, it put a huge weight in, it let the wind out of the sails. It was awful. And in that company's case, they went from IPO, like this high, right? You're going from the high from a acquisition, and they were bankrupt with the very next year. They declared bankruptcy. So it's like they let the wind out of the sails. And I'm not saying the bankruptcy was 100% caused by those issues alone, but if you're not willing to do the due diligence and look under the hood with respect to compliance, process safety, engineering, then surely there's other things that you're also not looking at. And all of those things combined in this company's case drove them into bankruptcy the very next year. I mean, talk about going from a super high to like the lowest of low, right? Had to let people go. It's you tainted your records, super embarrassing. It was bought out of bankruptcy for a couple $100 million, right? So a $2 billion deal all the way to a couple $100 million, like, you just threw that money away, just vanished. All because, you didn't do the due diligence. And why? A lot of people don't, because they don't know that they need to. And, or they think it's too complicated, it's going to take too long. Or they take it for granted, right? You think, we'll figure that out. But the reality is that it's not that complicated. You just need to have the right people in the room to help advise you on, what to do and where to go. And if you could do that, you're going to avoid a world of embarrassment, a world of like destroying shareholder value and altering people's lives, your employees' lives, right? So anyway, that's why one of the things Patronus does is we help with on the merger and acquisition side and the divestiture side, right? We do due diligence, like we're specialists in engineering and process safety. And so don't let it kill your deal. Don't be in that spot. Don't be that guy that it goes from being on top of the world to being like completely embarrassed, all because you didn't look under the hood. And that's what I wanted to share. Thanks for tuning in. Again, remember, awesome is always an option. Excellence wins. Catch you on the flip side.